Hi, it's Gabriel, and today I'm going to be talking about what it was like being transgender in a Southern high school. So, I'm from a military family and I moved around my whole life, and I've always been exposed to people that were of diverse backgrounds, cultures, everything. So, if I saw a person that was different from me, I never thought that they were different. I just thought that they were just another human. It never occurred to me that people had differences that were bad or anything like that. So halfway through ninth grade, my family moved to South Carolina and I was put into Southern high school. And it was a really big change for me. It was a lot less culturally diverse, and I could tell that most of the people were the same, most people wore the same types of things. And, that was fine with me. I didn't see it as a bad place just because there wasn't a lot of diversity. I just saw it as another place that I was going to be put in for a couple years. But what I didn't realize is that in this Southern high school, I was going to have a whole spectrum of gender revelations, and I wasn't ready for it, and neither were my classmates. So around 11th grade, I think, I started getting educated about different gender identities, being genderqueer, gender fluid. And that really worked for me because I used to dress up a lot in different ways. I would make an outfit and say, this is the kind of person that would wear this outfit, so this is who I'm going to be today. So some sort of gender fluid identity really worked for me, and I thought, oh yeah, this sounds like me. This makes more sense than just being on like a plain female spectrum. So for a while I identified as genderqueer, but the only thing about that is it didn't really change much about me. The only thing was that I asked people to call me by a nickname instead of my former name. And so people weren't confused by it at all because most people just didn't know that I identified as anything different, that I was doing anything different than I had the week before. So it was okay. But then a couple months later, I realized that I was actually a trans guy. So once I discovered this new identity of being a trans guy, it really started to work for me. And it opened up my mind in a span of 10 minutes to all these possibilities. I was thinking about who I should have been, who I can be. So I immediately sent an email to all my teachers asking them to call me by a different name, explaining a little bit about what was going on with me, just saying, hey, I'm trans. I would really like it if you could use different pronouns with me from now on. And I mostly didn't get any responses from that email. The only responses I got came the next day in class when all of my teachers pulled me aside and asked me like what was going on. And the thing is about that, they asked me what was happening, not like, oh, hey, what's trans? Can you educate me? What's really going on with you? They're asking me, like, what's going on? Are you just pulling some kind of trick? Is this a social experiment? Like, is this real? That was the kind of reaction I got. So mostly I just told them, yes, this is real. I want you to call me by this name. I'm not kidding. It'd be pretty damaging to me if I had to hear the wrong terms and pronouns and stuff all the time, so please just do this for me. And they pretty much all agreed, but none of them ever asked for further information about me, who I was, what I was going through, which would have really helped because pretty much all my teachers that I can remember would still use the wrong pronouns, which hurt my feelings, to be honest. I mean, it just made me feel so sick every time I felt someone called me a girl or the wrong name. It made me literally want to throw up, and no one understood that. And as far as my classmates went, and my friends, they didn't understand. They would pretty much just talk amongst themselves like, oh, who's Gabriel? Like, who are they talking about? Who's this kid? What's going on? There's no one new in this class. And it was kind of hurtful that it never came up in the class. I would have honestly appreciated it if my teachers just could have spent like a second saying, hey, this is Gabriel, the same person that's been here before, but now this is Gabriel, a different person. But instead, there was just confusion, which I didn't care about because it was, my needs that mattered, not their confusion. But it was hard because no one would ask questions, and already feeling like I'm in a vulnerable position, I couldn't just walk up to people and say, oh yeah, I'm Gabriel, I'm this new kid, here's all about me, here's my life story. I didn't want to tell that to people, and especially because I wasn't all that educated about what being trans meant. I wasn't going to go educate my entire school full of 2,000 kids about it. So it was pretty difficult. I had a lot of friends, probably about 75% at least, that pretty much just dropped me off in the dirt, stopped talking to me, wouldn't ask questions. They weren't mean, but all of a sudden there was a wall put up that wasn't there before. They wouldn't say, hey, cool t-shirt, or, what's this math question mean, like they used to before. They just wouldn't talk to me, pretty much act like I wasn't there, which hurt my feelings. But at the end of the day, as horrible as it sounds, I was just glad that I wasn't getting beaten up after school, which I know is unfortunately the experience that a lot of people have. But it was tough. And when it came around to graduation, I hadn't legally changed my name yet, so the wrong name was going to be called on the roster. And, if I had to graduate under the wrong name, it would have felt like it wasn't me that was really graduating. It would have negated what I've gone through so far. It would have been horrible. So I was asking the teacher that was going to be the one announcing the names on stage at graduation for days and for weeks to say this different name for me, please. This is my situation. I can't graduate under the wrong name. It would be horrible for me, and it would be horrible for my family to hear this. It would be so confusing for people. And he was on my side, to my surprise, but it was still tough for him because he had to answer to a lot of people if he did the wrong thing during graduation, if he messed up the ceremony. And he was like, it's tough because there are a lot of lists of names, and if one name changes on one list, it could mess up the whole ceremony. And I said, is there any way you can just say it when I get up there? I'm sure you're going to remember me when it comes to my name. And he said, I'll do what I can. So it came to graduation day, and I was pretty much walking in blind. I didn't know if I was going to graduate or a person that wasn't there anymore was going to get a false diploma. So it was tough. It was nerve-wracking. I knew my parents were in the audience, and they were still adjusting to this period like I was adjusting to the new name. And I didn't want them to have to hear an old name resonating in their heads at such a memorable moment. But thankfully, when I crossed the stage, the teacher said my right name. He said Gabriel Powell, and I was so relieved. Oh my God, because he probably got in trouble for saying that. He wasn't supposed to do that. He, ruined their lists. He ruined the ceremony. But no one knew except me at that moment. And it really did mean the world, and that was really great. So my overall experience becoming trans, if you will, at a Southern high school, it wasn't horrible, but it definitely taught me a lot about who your true friends are and just how people act around trans people. It gave me some ideas about how I was going to be treated in the real world and how I was going to have to deal with things. But it was okay. It was a learning experience like high school really was. And in the end, I think I got a high school experience just like everyone else. I entered the building as one person, and 4 years later I exited as another. And I think in the end, that's what's more important, is to come into yourself when you're growing up and when you're in high school, when you have more knowledge at your fingertips. And at the end of the day, I think that's what's more important, and that's what people should really remember, is that as long as who you are is being true to yourself, there's nothing wrong with it. And if I could give advice to someone going through the same situation, I would say, to just go for it, to send that email to your teachers, to change your name, to do whatever you have to do to make it work, and do it immediately. Don't wait, because if you wait, you're just going to get scared. You're going to learn more about what your identity means, what trials might face you in life, how things might be more hard for you. And if you think about it, you might not want to do it anymore. You might think it's not worth it, that the trouble's not worth it, that you can deal with being called the wrong name, the wrong pronouns, wearing the wrong thing. But I would suggest you just jump into it, because that's what I did. And looking back, I'm not sure that I would have jumped into it if I knew everything about being trans that I know today. But I'm glad that I took that leap. Otherwise, I would just be living a lie and I would be unhappy. But it's going to work out for you if you just stay true to yourself and do what you really want to do, because at the end of the day, you have to live with yourself. Other people will come and go. There's millions of people in this world that can be your friend, but you are the only person in the world that you're going to see in the mirror every single day. So that's my experience, and I hope maybe it helps you with something similar you're going through, or it's just an interesting story to listen to. So thanks for watching.